that other, he did another video, Shaw, that was like to, I think it was Ryan Pineda had a convention or something, and he told those same stories. And I took notes on that before. TJ, can you send that to Graham and Shaw, those notes, so they don't have to write them again? The ones I sent.
TJ might be doing it, but he's muted, so we can't be sure of what he's saying.
Okay.
No,
Or Mike,
my bad.
I didn't hear it.
yeah. I need to get Graham's number anyway, so I need to save Graham's number and else.
Yeah. It's handwritten, so let me know if you need some transcription, but you should be able to make it out, at least to get you started.
I appreciate it, Cody. Yeah, that'll be awesome. We'll do some more of that. Allie's putting some stuff together. I know we're doing some Novation training, and she's got all kinds of stuff planned. But yeah, I'm glad you guys got some value out of that. But as you guys find more, like to Cody's point here, and I know you guys have some stuff. Like drop those links and help each other out. Because one person can only watch so much video or consume so much content, read so many books, but collectively, and that's the whole point of all this is, collectively, we can get a lot further, a lot faster, right? And to that point, we got the main man in the building, Jeff Smith, in the house, y'all. Jeff, what's up, brother?
Good seeing you guys. Thanks for having me for this. I'm really excited to be back in this particular Zoom with you guys and Shad here in the Blueprint room. This is great.
Appreciate you hopping on, bro. We're super stoked to have you. I know we're gonna have a lot of people show up. We have some people, some stragglers every once in a while, so they're gonna make their way in here. We're live on YouTube, on Facebook, and then I know we're gonna have a good audience in here right now. So we have 20-something people, but I know we'll have well over 30, maybe even 40 here pretty soon.
No, that's great. I mean, even if we have 10, I'm gonna give you everything I got. I'm gonna give some real stuff y'all can deploy. So if you haven't heard any of my sales training, I'm not holding back behind a big curtain. Like, I'm gonna give you things you can actually go to work on your conversations.
That's gonna be amazing. I just have one quick favor to ask, right, for everybody in the audience here. Anybody that was here last time Jeff was here, you guys know how much value that he brings. Please do everybody in the industry a favor. Take a picture of this and then post it on social media right now. Let people know that he's in here. He's taking time out of his his busy schedule to come drop all these valuable nuggets. And if they want to learn and grow, that this is the spot to be right now, live as it happens. So if you guys could do that, we'll get some attention on it, and then yeah, I know people are going to keep trickling in here, Jeff. So whenever you're ready to start, brother, you can hand it off and you can get rolling on what you like.
Awesome. Well, guys, what I'd also really like to do is make this interactive, because I want to know what you guys in particular want to talk about. I have my ideas of what I think you all want to talk about, and my guess is probably decent, but I'd love to hear from you in particular. So what I'd like to kind of poll the audience with, and just blow up the chat, whatever. Tell me the things that you feel like, man, Jeff, I am really struggling on the phones with this. My phone sales could get better, but this is my bottleneck, or it is a bottleneck. You don't have to narrow it down to one thing, maybe a couple things. And then the other thing I'd like you to write is, hey, Jeff, I've studied a little bit. Maybe I haven't studied all. Doesn't matter. This is the thing that I have implemented that has really worked for me. So what are the things that are stopping me? What are the things I'm struggling with? What do I feel uncomfortable with on the phones? And on the other hand, what do I feel comfortable with? What has been working? So plug that in the chat, and I'm going to get a little bit further into my lesson, if you will. And then I'm going to come back to this, and I'll adjust based on what you guys want to talk about. Or I'm just going to make it up as I go along, one or the other. So for you guys who don't know me, my name is Jeff Smith. I'm out of Houston. I'm a real estate investor. I've done several fix and flips that I've negotiated and closed. We've done land entitlements. I've invested in multifamily and passively. And done some rural subdividing. So I've negotiated and closed several different types of people. Matter of fact, a couple days ago, got our first subject to of the year. That was cool. And that was from a follow-up I've been doing for a couple of months. So, I've really studied hard on what makes somebody good at sales. And in particular, what I started to find out is there is a difference in skill set between selling somebody on a high stakes, like we can't screw this up type of sale, like a house, versus me trying to sell you a cup of Starbucks coffee. I can strong arm every single one of you into buying a Starbucks cup of coffee. I can't strong arm you into buying a Lamborghini. Can't do it. Right? The stakes are too high for you to invest in that thing, because what's the consequence? Blown over $500,000 on a car and you hate it. Blow $5 on a Starbucks, burn your tongue. Who cares? That's the difference here. And so when you start to come at it from a new perspective of my sales strategy needs to change, the thought process needs to change, that's when I started to have a lot more success in my sales conversation. And for me, when I first got started, guys, I want to first blow away one myth that if you're not naturally talented at sales, you can't be. This is a myth. This is a lie. Are there some people who are kind of more naturally inclined than others? Sure. Okay. People who are 7 foot are more naturally inclined to play basketball than me. Doesn't matter. I still can play. I suck at it, but I can play. But what I find a lot of people do is they will avoid getting on the phones, or they'll avoid being a closer because mostly it's nerves. Oh, I'm just not good at being on the phone. It's like, dude, you've never tried. Or maybe you tried and you simply weren't taught it correctly. You were handed a script and says, read this and go through it. Well, the problem in Hollywood, guys, is if only one actor has the script, what the hell is the other actor supposed to do? Improvise. And guess what? Your sellers that you're talking with, they didn't get a copy of the script like you did. So what do? We make this Frankenstein monster of scripts and we kind of hope that that's going to do the job. And we go through it and we're just like, why the hell does this seem to work for guys like Shad and Pace and Jamil and Brent and Jeff? Why do they seem to be able to do this and I can't replicate the same results? What is happening? So we're going to talk about this. So one, there's really 3 major problems that I feel like people really experience when they get started. The first one is you simply don't have confidence because, again, you're relying on the script to do the work. And because you don't yet understand how these lines work, how these questions work, it feels clunky, which again is this vicious cycle of it just continues to beat you down. Second problem, maybe you're on the phones and you're starting to get some momentum, but these questions are falling flat. They don't seem to work quite right. They're not eliciting the motivation that we're told we need to go get. Or then the third problem, maybe you are starting to lock up some deals, but you feel like you're getting them by the skin of your teeth. You're leaving stuff on the table. We really don't know how to negotiate yet. These are the 3 main things that I see. Okay. So the first thing is I want you to first realize your job as a closer really boils down to these 3 things. 3 things that you got to remember if you're going to be a closer. Number 1, your job in this is to diagnose problems and prescribe the right treatment. Your number 1 job is to diagnose problems and prescribe the right treatment, not the treatment you want, the treatment the seller needs. A lot of people get into creative finance. It's all they want to prescribe. I had a guy, he came over. He's like, Jeff, I want this house and I want the seller to take sub 2. It's like, does the seller need sub 2? Well, no, I don't think so. That's just what I want to do. Well, then why the hell are you prescribing chemo to a patient who has a cough? This makes no sense. So in the same way, I want you to now think of yourselves you're not just a closer anymore. It's a title. You're more like real estate diagnostic doctors, figuring out what the issue is so you can put the right solution in place. I'm going to dive more into what I mean by that in a second. The second thing you have to do is you do have to be empathetic and be able to advance this conversation at the same time. You have to be able to do both of these. You can't come in fully empathetic because then you're friend zoned and you're just hearing about stuff and you never make any progress. You can't only be solution oriented because then the seller realizes this guy doesn't actually care about me, let alone have an answer to the problem. I don't trust him anymore. And so it's not about, I don't even want to say it's about striking a balance. You have to be fully involved in both of these things. This is one of the things women tend to be much better on the empathy side. They tend to lean that way, so they struggle a little bit on advancing a conversation. Men tend to have the opposite problem. We want to go for the solution. We want to go for the kill. We want to get this thing done. Seems like we don't care. This is a problem. So you have to have both of these things. If they feel like you don't care, you don't get trust. If you are not able to push this thing along to get them to the finish line with the prescription, they never get treatment and you don't get a deal. You got to be able to do both of these things. All right. So those are the first two things you have to be. And then the third one, crap, I had this written down. I had this written down and then like my mind got blown. So I'll rewind back to that later. Let's go back up to the doctor analogy. It'll come to me in a second. Imagine this. Imagine you walk into a doctor's office and you've gone through all the initial questions from the nurses, right? You walk into the exam room. You're the first patient of the day, but for some dumb reason, the doctor's still 30 minutes late. Nurse is coming in. How old are you? How tall are you? How heavy are you? Are you pregnant? Are you taking any medications? You go through this litany of trivia questions, right? And what's the reaction we have when we're going through this exercise? What the hell does this have to do with anything? I came here because my leg won't work anymore. I can't run. And you want to ask me about the last time I took a Tylenol. Or you want to ask me if this other, like none of this is relevant to it just irritates us. We don't know how to say it, but we're kind of trusting in the moment. Like we'll roll with it a little bit. And then the doctor comes in and you go, oh, thank God. And what is the very first question the doctor asks? What seems to be the problem today? What seems to be the challenge you're facing? What is concerning you? What is dissatisfying you in your health today? What is it about your life that you are not happy with that has brought you here? Notice these little keywords I'm doing. What is your concern? Where are you dissatisfied? Where are you struggling? What is the challenge? What is the hurdle? What is the obstacle? These little keywords, guys, this is what I teach my students. What it does is it naturally forms the questions. So the focus is not on you and trivia questions. The focus is now on your client, your seller, the agent, whoever it is. Hey, Mr. Jones, take me from the top. What is it about this property that's been your biggest concern? Man, okay, so the tenants have started bothering you. What is it about the tenants that has been your biggest challenge? Okay, you haven't heard from them in a while. So if you haven't heard from the tenants in a while, what is the biggest obstacle to getting this rectified? See, by using these little keywords, it puts the emphasis on what they feel is the problem, what they don't like, so that you can find out motivation. And you also notice, as I did this little imaginary conversation, this is how you dig deeper into motivation. No longer will you accept, I'm tired of being a landlord. Dude, everyone who's a landlord is tired of being a landlord. You haven't discovered anything. I want to sell because my tenants are annoying. Welcome to landlordship. They're all annoying. Like, tell me something new, right? And I always do it a little funny because I like to take things to the extremes, because I think when you take examples to the extremes, it makes sense. If I've got 200 houses and all of the tenants are annoying, why is this one house stood out in the crowd? That's not going to cause me to sell one house out of 200. Oh yeah, the tenants are annoying me. Dude, all 200 tenants are annoying you. Why this one? That's why we go into deeper motivation. That's not a good enough reason for you anymore. You as a closer, you watching. So instead go, okay, the tenants are annoying you. I understand. Or whatever they say, doesn't matter. So tell me more about that. What is it about that particular aspect that has gotten under your skin or dissatisfied you? That's how we start to drill down into the motivation funnels. Everybody see that? That's how you do that. Let me also give you another reason why this is important, because a lot of you are asking questions about tenants that you think are about the dissatisfaction of it, potentially motivation, but you're not. I'm going to show you why. Probably a lot of you are saying, oh, is the place occupied by a tenant? Do you have a tenant? How much is left on the lease? What are they paying right now? How's it going? What kind of maintenance costs do you have? These are all fact-finding questions. Let me show you the difference here. Imagine I was selling a security system. Imagine that the seller had a security system on the house. I want to take us out of the real estate space for a while because you can see this vision. Here's two questions. I want you to hear the difference. Is the security system affecting your bottom line in your income? It's question number one. Just mentally hear this. Is the security system affecting your bottom line in your rental property? Now hear the difference on this one. Are you dissatisfied about the security system affecting your bottom line? I've asked two totally different questions with one word. The English language is both magical and stupid all at the same time. How much is that security system impacting your bottom line? Yes. Yes, it is. How much is it impacting your bottom line? It's impacting me about $150 a month. Are you dissatisfied with the security system affecting your bottom line? No, it's the best money I've ever spent. Well, then who cares about the price anymore? You see that now? Are the tenants behind? Yes, they're behind. Are you dissatisfied the tenants are behind? No, I can finally evict them. Oh. There's a difference between factual questions, just matter of fact, and is it making me displeased to the point that I'm willing to take an action about it? That is the difference of just a fact versus pain. Motivation of pain is what we're seeking. Pain or gain are typical motivations. Okay. So let's go back to the doctor analogy. Imagine that doctor walks in. You just filled out this form with height, weight, and all this stuff. Imagine the doctor walks in and says, hey, yeah, I just need to ask a few questions and we'll get you treated. You'd go, oh, thank goodness. Let's do this thing. Doctor goes, okay, let's just start from the top. How many arms do you have? You got two of those. Okay, that's good. Fingers and toes, you got those together. Okay, those are all in place. Excellent. When was the last time you had any cavities? None of those. Okay, well that's good. Oh, you had one cavity before. Okay, we might come back to that later. Okay. And any issues with your hair or vision? No obstacles there. Okay. Well, well, Jack, I think I got everything. You know, what are you hoping to get here? Well, Doc, I'm hoping maybe you'll prescribe me some Vicodin just for this crazy headache you just gave me of asking dumb things. Okay, well, I think the best I can do is Tylenol. Would you accept Tylenol? How about Tylenol in terms? You know, give you one half today and one half tomorrow. And we laugh about this, but it's exactly what a lot of us sound like sometimes. We ask, how many beds is it? How many square feet is it? How long have you owned it? How old is the roof? When was the last time you were out there? Who else is involved in the conversation? It's just trivia. Instead of saying, hey, besides my phone call, what's really got you thinking about selling in the first place? That's where I start 99% of my calls. Okay, so that's the reason you're thinking about it. Okay, well, what is it about that particular thing that is concerning you the most? So let's rewind to the doctor. How does the doctor actually ask you questions? Jeff, what seems to be the problem? Doc, my leg's busted. Oh, good. I didn't have to ask you about your hair and your vision. That's easy. Okay, Jeff, tell me more about that. What specifically about your leg is bothering you? I can't move it. Oh, okay, you can't move it. So if you can't move it, tell me more about why that is such a challenge for you. Well, doc, if I can't move it, I can't go sprint because I'm on the track team. Oh, geez. You're on the track team, so legs busted, that doesn't work anymore. Okay. How else is this impacting you? Well, doc, just getting around on a day-to-day basis just sucks. Like, I got to get something done right now. Okay. Now let me ask a couple fact-finding questions. How long has this been going on? Show me where it hurts. How much intensity is this? Okay. Jeff, I feel like I finally understand what has happened with your leg. Is there anything else about your situation that you're unhappy with or I need to know? No, doc, you got it. Okay. So legs busted. It seems to be at your hip. It's preventing you from sprinting, which is impacting your track team stuff and impacting your ability to get around. Have I missed anything or is that summarized? No, doc, you got it. Okay, great. Jeff, I've worked with a bunch of other folks like you. Similar issue. They came in, the leg was busted, exactly the position you're talking about, ligament issue, all the things. If you're ready to move, are you ready to move forward if I gave you a treatment plan that solved that? Hell yeah, where do I sign? What do we got to do? Well, you have a couple options. I can either give you a shot today and it'll cost you $9.95. Damn, doc, that's pretty expensive. You got anything else? And I hate shots. Okay. If you don't like that, here's another thing we can do. If you're willing to take a pain-killing pill and this other pill 2 times a day for the next week, that'll do the job and it'll be $14.95. Damn, I think I just want the shot and get it over with. What did that sound like to you guys? It was a sale. Again, it's all analogy. I'm just making up the story in my head, but the point I'm making here is we drilled into what the problem was. It doesn't matter if my vision's bad, if my leg's screwed up, and that's what I'm really irritated about. It doesn't matter that the water heater's 10 years old if the tenants have ripped the place apart. And then finally to say, I understand what you're dealing with. I have comprehended your problem, which makes me the best person to give you the treatment. Because if somebody else comes in and says, Jeff, I don't know the first thing about you, here's a shot, you're going to say, get that guy away from me. He has no idea what's going on. I don't trust him. That's why our sellers need to know we're empathetic to them, but we're advancing this thing forward. Y'all see this now? Okay. So one of the things I want you to start adjusting, I'm going back to this, is the idea of problem questions versus fact-finding questions. Problem questions versus fact-finding questions. Problem questions emphasize what the client is dissatisfied about. Again, write down these keywords and let your questions form around them. What is your concern? What is the challenge? What is the obstacle? What are you dissatisfied with? What's gotten under your skin? Use those words and your questions will naturally put the emphasis on the seller. And then fact-finding questions, things like how old the roof is, how much maintenance you're doing, water heater, all this stuff. Keep them highly relevant to the problem you've experienced, to the problem that the seller has identified. As much as possible, keep them highly relevant to the problems that the seller has identified. So we go back to the doctor analogy. Say the leg is busted. Okay. Are you experiencing leg pain at your hip or your knee? That is a fact-finding question, but is highly relevant to the problem that I've just identified. Jeff, I'm sick and tired of these tenants. Okay, tell me about why the tenants are causing you a bother. They're behind in payments. It's causing issues. Okay, how many months are they behind? That's a fact-finding question, highly relevant to the problem. You see that now? That's how they tie together. What most of the time we do in our scripts is it's full of fact-finding questions. And maybe there's even a block at the top that says, go through the pain funnel. And you're like, that's not helpful. It doesn't tell me anything. How many of y'all have seen that script? It's the dumbest thing. Ask questions about motivation, go through the pain funnel. And then we never told anybody how to do it. That is why you guys are having problems. If that's where you're having problems in your script, you're like this big black box of nothing. It's because you weren't taught what problem questions are, which I just explained to you. Problem questions are how you elicit motivation. And then when they give you a response, Jeff, I'm selling because I'm tired of the tenants. Again, you were no longer taking surface level explanations. That is not good enough. Okay, tenants are annoying. I get it. Tenants are annoying, 100% right. Tell me more about why these tenants are such a concern or such a challenge for you. You will be amazed when you do this 2 or 3 times, just how deep this rabbit hole will go. Next thing you realize, it's not about the tenants because they got bills to pay and that mortgage is getting behind. Yeah, the tenants are annoying them because they're behind on payments and now I'm filing bankruptcy. It ain't just the tenants being annoying. All right. So, guys, I'm going to look through the chat here real quick. How many of you, I kind of poll the audience here. How many of you are familiar with or have executed something like these problem questions I'm talking about? We got Alondra. Okay. Potentially one person. Okay. How many of you have been very used to the kind of these fact-finding questions like, Jeff, man, I'm constantly asking for the age of the roof and the tenants and all the rest of this stuff. How many of you have kind of fallen into that trap? How many of you won't raise your hand no matter what I say? I'm just messing with you. I know it's kind of putting everybody on the spot,
Guys,
but
Jeff,
probably
participation, right? That was the one question, or the one request.
Yeah, participate full out. But all of us have experienced this, and our issue is that we do this and we think we're making progress, but really, guys, we're just throwing darts, and we're hoping we find out. Is it your arm bothering you? No. Is it your neck bothering you? No. Is it your leg bothering you? Yes. Ha! Best closer alive. Got it. That's called dumb luck. But when we just leverage the English language a little bit and put a couple keywords in the right spot, it forms the targeting mechanism better so that the sellers can start to explain to us, this is what I'm motivated about. This is my pain. This is my pain. So one other thing I want everybody to kind of understand here, I brought this up earlier, is that we don't prescribe solutions that don't align with your client's problem. I know a lot of you are in creative finance, PACE, even if you're not, doesn't matter. We've all heard this. There's always a shiny object of some kind. Novation could be the last one. It doesn't matter. There'll be something next week. And we want to start playing with our new toy that we just got, right? I want to do subject twos for the rest of my life. In Q3, I executed 15 deals. 3 of them were sub twos. In Q4, I think we did about 12. 3 or 4 of those were sub twos. What does that mean? That means 75% of the people I worked with were happier than hell with a cash offer, and that was the thing they needed. That was what they needed. Sub 2 was not the answer. So be okay with that. It's like, God, I'd love to have this house sub 2, but that's not what cures them. And it's not what they're going to accept anyway. They won't. Why would they? Jeff, I know that your leg is busted, but man, this new brand of chemo is awesome. Everybody I give it to is really happy with it. I'm not taking that. Why not? Because it doesn't help me. It doesn't do what I need. Oh man, these people, they just don't understand medicine. We would all laugh in hysteria at this. But there are some people who do this. Jeff, I don't understand. Like the benefits of sub 2 are just astronomical. For you, is it mostly beneficial for them, or does this other solution do a better job? All right. So, guys, what is the thing? I'm going to look up here in the chat a little bit. So again, type in the chat, what is the thing that you feel like you are struggling the most with in your sales calls? Graham says, gaining respect and trust within the first minute. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. How do we build up rapport? Not useless rapport. Let's go about that. Alondra's increasing urgency. That's a good one. Cody says, I'm uncomfortable transitioning or even starting the conversation with going after their problems. Oh, that's a good one. Cody says, I am comfortable adjusting my tone cadence to match and mirror. Bam. Oh gosh, these are good topics right here. Start with Graham's. Gaining respect and trust within the first minute. So what I want to emphasize with people, again, with the doctor analogy, sometimes people start and they try to figure, how do I do best rapport? And sometimes what we're taught is go ask them some easy questions. Hey, yeah, let's, tell me how long you've owned it. Tell me about what it looks like on the inside. And we kind of think these softball questions start to build a little bit of trust because they're easy to answer. That's one way people have been taught. But think about it again with that doctor. When that doctor comes in the office, I want the hard questions like right now. Because as soon as I start getting the hard questions, I know I'm getting closer to my treatment. So if anybody's like, I'm shying away from asking about these concerns, these problem questions that Jeff's talking about, again, think back to that doctor. You want the doctor asking you again about your height and your weight, or do you want him to ask you, where does it hurt? And tell me what's really bothering you. Which one do you want? You want to explain what's going on. So be confident that that's what the seller wants to. The other thing I've started to notice as far as getting respect and trust is I will have a very consistent intro and my vocal timbre and tone is always steady. And I really emphasize that no matter what this person says, I'm not getting rattled. They can curse me out if they want to. I just assume they're venting about somebody else. It doesn't hit me anymore. Sometimes it does out of annoyance. I'm only human. But that's really where I try and direct that energy. The other thing, Graham, that'll help you is the concept of advancing the conversation. When I got started, guys, I didn't feel like I was gaining a lot of rapport and trust because I didn't know where I was going. I'm on this call. I have this script. I still don't know where I'm supposed to go. I'm supposed to have this conversation, but what's the next step here? Because they don't have a copy of my script. Now what? So one exercise that you can do, so everybody's got hopefully you got your pen and paper. We got pen and paper ready to go? All right, I'm going to give you this concept. You're going to write this down. Super important. If you forget everything else, there's two things you should take away from today. Everything else, write them at the top. Number one, problem questions. I swear if you guys go out of here and you don't remember what problem questions are, I will come through this Zoom and slap you. And then Shad will probably do it just a minute afterwards. Problem questions. Start tweaking that and use those as early as possible. Concern. What is the challenge? The obstacle, the hurdle, what's gotten under your skin, what are you dissatisfied with? Use those key words. Your questions will naturally form around them. Okay, it's number one. Please take that away. Okay, next, down your paper a few lines because you'll probably take notes and you should craft your own questions. Okay, don't just take those keywords and say, okay, cool, we're done. Like go write down the ones that you can. Okay, part two, the concept of advancing the conversation. Concept of advancing the conversation. This was such a huge breakthrough for me when I first got it. Do you guys know, you ever hear anybody talk about like a one call close? Call them up one time, you close it. How many people have actually done a one call close? Not many. You can probably count them on one hand. One call close, one hand, ha ha ha. Here's the point. I don't want you to see a one call close as like this ideal like thing of perfection. The lesson I want you to take away from a one call close is that you will not artificially stop yourself from taking this conversation as far as you possibly can. Again, I'm going to take this to the extremes. Imagine if somebody got on the phone right now with you, $1 million house, and they got on the phone and said, Jack, I will do whatever it takes to get this house sold. I will stay up until midnight. I will bring my mortgage statement. I want barely anything I just have to get the hell out of here. I will 200,000 cash. If you tell me that right now, you got it, I'll do it. I'm not going anywhere. You want to sub to, I don't care. I have to sell this house. The amount of motivation and intensity, again, I'm taking it to an extreme. Would any of you want to get off this call, or would you be willing to stay up till midnight if that's what it took to get the contract signed? You'd say, hey man, we're going to get this done. Let me put you on hold for 5 minutes while I call one of my business partners, and we're going to get this thing figured out. Okay. Okay. That'd be great. Shot. Oh my God. I don't know what to do. This guy's freaking out and I have a deal. Please help me. But the point is, you keep pushing this thing forward. You wouldn't get on the phone with this guy and said, okay, sounds like a really interesting house. When can I follow up with you? Follow up for what? But we do that a lot of times as newbies because we're not sure what that next step is. We don't know what the next step is, right? Well, I know I got to comp it and I got to underwrite it and then I got to close it. It's like, yeah, but what about all the other stuff? So under your concept, advancing the conversation, I want you to write this down. I want you to think through the process from your very first call to the moment that you sign that contract. From your first call to the moment that you sign that contract, what is everything that has to happen to make it to that point? Everything that has to happen. I'll give you a few examples. We obviously want to find out the motivation. We potentially want to get some photos of the property, find out what the condition of it is. We want to figure out if there's a decision maker involved, if there's an attorney, if there's a realtor, how many other people are involved. We need to get them into the conversation. Is this inherited? Okay, we need a copy of that will. We don't have a will. Okay, I need to know who the family members are. All these things would have to happen before we contract, right? Okay, we got somebody who's, in a medical position. Do we have power of attorney? I'm going to need a copy of that. Do you need is in your process, do you want a home inspector to go out there? In our process, we send that out after contract, but whatever, it depends on whatever your process is. What else needs to happen? We got to comp it. We got to underwrite it. Do I want to send that? Do I want to grab one of my end buyers to take a look at it real quick? What is the complete set of things that has to happen to get to close? What you will find a lot of times is this varies by motivation list. Like a foreclosure is like, hey, I'm probably going to need their mortgage statement. I'm going to need the arrears. I'm going to need the logins. I'm going to need power. I'm going to need blah, blah, blah. I'm going to need all this stuff. Probate, we're going to need a copy of the will. We need the family tree. We need all that. Owner occupant, place is a hoarder house. Okay, probably not as many steps. But when you have the whole roadmap laid out, now when you're on the phone and that guy is desperate to get a deal, you're not panicked to say, I'll follow up with you. You're saying, okay, so our next step here is, can you snap a few photos of the house? And while you're doing that, I'm going to give my partner a call. Don't hang up on me. We're going to get this thing solved. I'm going to ask him to run some comps for me. Shad, brother, you got my back? Hell yeah, I got your back. What are we doing? Here's the situation. Jack, you still there? We're still interested in buying the house. Yep, I've got it. I got the photos over to you. Looks beautiful, right? So when you have that, Graham, then you're going to have more confidence in what you're doing, because when we have doubts about where we're going and what our goal is for the call, particularly red personalities get pissed. Maybe you dealt with a red personality before. I don't even have to describe what a red personality is. Y'all already know what it is. Red personalities are not angry by default. Red personalities get angry when they feel like the other person doesn't know what they're doing. So by cataloging all these advances, now you're in a position to say, I'm an equal with you. I'm on equal footing. You don't have to be a billionaire, but we're on equal footing. And I know, and I have a goal of this call. I know where I'm going. That calms a red down. That also helps build trust. Just like that doctor. The doctor knows where we're going. I don't entirely know how, but the doctor seems to have a method and that we're getting there together. Okay. Alondra Brown says increasing urgency is something. So to increase urgency, you have to identify, quantify, and amplify the consequences of not solving the problem. Identify, quantify, and amplify the consequences of not solving the problem. This is how I got this sub 2 days ago. He was saying it first, and I'm just going to leave it on the MLS for another 30 days. Dude, you've already had this thing listed for 2 months. How much money in the mortgage have you had to spend so far? So I've had to spend $1,200 a month. $1,200 a month for 2 months. That's $2,400 you just lit on fire. Yeah. Imagine this thing goes on for another month. That's another $1,200 gone. Even if you get a buyer, they're going to take another 30 days to close this thing down. Dude, you will have burned up $5,000 for nothing. What if I could get this done in 2 to 3 weeks for you and you're done? He goes, yeah, you know what? You're right. This is dumb. Let's get this thing over with. What do? We identified the consequence of continuing. $1,200 every month. Quantified it. Well, we identified the mortgage payment, quantified it, which is the $1,200, amplified it. Just a little quick multiplication. Oh, geez. It's not $1,200 that I'm spending. It's $5,000 if this thing doesn't stop. That's how you increase urgency. The pain has to be amplified to where they say, oh my gosh. If we're talking about this again in March and I haven't done anything, whew, then it gets worse. Consequences. Cody, transitioning or even starting the conversation with going after their problems. Yeah, again, dude, it's like that doctor shows up because you know the second you start getting those difficult questions, I almost breathe a sigh of relief. Like, oh, finally, we're going to get to the root of this thing. Because even I don't understand the problem sometimes. I know what I think is the problem. My leg's busted, but the doctor's going to say, nah, dude, that's not a bone break. You got ligaments that are screwed up. Oh, thank goodness the doctor figured this out. I'm finally going to get treatment. So be encouraged and be confident. The seller wants you to ask the hard questions. A qualified lead will want you to ask the right questions. An unmotivated lead, I'll sell for the right price. I don't need to sell. I don't need to do it. Everything's fine. I can't even say that without a twang in my voice anymore because I hear it all the time. They're not going to have any kind of motivation. You're better off disqualifying them. But somebody who's truly motivated is going to say, dude, we're having to move. Yeah, we want to move into my brother's apartment, just as quick as we can. Okay, you want to move into your brother's apartment as quick as you can. Okay, got it. Sounds like there's something bothering you about this. What is it about this house that's causing you the major heartache? What is the major concern? This actually happened. Well, Jeff, really what this boils down, we haven't gotten behind yet, but we feel like we're going to in another month or so. And we really don't want that to happen. We don't want a foreclosure to happen. One question. And how many of us are used to this idea? Oh, they want to move. They want to move. They just want to move in with family. Cool. We're done here. One question more, and all of a sudden you realize we have a potential foreclosure if we don't do something. That's why these problem questions are so important. So, Cody, I know it feels uncomfortable first because we feel like we're being nosy. A motivated lead wants you to know the problem. I want that doctor to know where my leg hurts so I can get treatment. An unmotivated lead does not care about you in the slightest. Like, no, you called me. Just give me an offer. I don't give a crap. The price is right. See, I can't even do it. Price is right. Can't do it. Jose says, want to get the whole picture, structure, not prescribing the medicine before diagnosing. Yes. So guys, studio audience, let me ask you this. Why are we so hell-bent on finding motivation? Anybody want to take a shot at this? Why am I so crazy about finding motivation? If you've been to the doctor's office, you already know the answer to this.
Yeah, it's the diagnosis is what creates the gap between where they are and what you can provide a solution.
Okay. So Jose says it justifies the gap. Okay, I like that. Who else got something?
If you have assessed their pain points, then that will be a reason for you to give the options to the solution of their problems.
There.
I am a nurse,
un-
I know what it is. Diagnosis,
Yes.
assessment, treatment, triage.
Yes. Correct. Guys, the reason we go after motivation, yes, it's a negotiating tactic. But more importantly, when it's time to deliver your offer, the reason I'm so successful in delivering my offers is because when I have that time, I say, here's how my solution perfectly aligns with the problem you're experiencing. So when I pitch sub 2, they're just like, oh my God, that does exactly what we needed to do. How the hell did you do that? Yeah. This gets you the money you need to get out of here. This takes care of the liens that you're worried about. This gets me the house so I can pay you more so you don't have to come out of pocket. Lynella, if we can do this, how do you feel about moving forward? Just where do I sign? So it's not entirely about saying you got all these problems and you're a moron, therefore I'm at this price. It's about saying my solution solves this pain and it can be yours. And here's how it works. Do you want to proceed? That's why we do it, guys. Just like with the doctor, diagnosing the problem so we can prescribe the right solution. Do you guys want to know the secret to pitching someone sub 2 and getting that closed? A couple of you, that's good enough. Okay, Ivy, you and me. I'll tell you. The rest of you are just gonna have to figure it out. Jedi mind tricks. Good guess, partially true. Pitching creative financing, particularly sub 2. Here's the secret. Probably heard it from Caroline Kane. Your ears are gonna bleed. Cash, cash, cash. Go for terms last. Here's the way I do it. I introduce them. I say, listen, let's look at a few options together. I want you to have the full buffet, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons, and I'll give you my recommendation. I already know I'm going with sub 2. I already know this is the right prescription. They don't know it yet. Complexity shuts down people's brains. I want the simple solutions to go away. So I first go, okay, look, whether it was me or anybody else, if you wanted to walk down the road of a cash offer, we open door number 1, you're probably looking at X. And if you took X, what would happen? And Jeff, if I took X, I'd have to come out of pocket like $10,000 to sell my own house. Right. See, I already knew the answer to it. Like, that's right. So let me ask you, Amanda, could you write a check for $10,000 to do this? I'm going to ask her, can you do it? Because if she says yes, well, guess what? We're going to do the cash deal. She says no. Okay. So that's not a viable option. Let's shut that door. So cash option is off the table. Let's go to door number 2. You could try using a realtor. Now, here's the thing. Realtors, they typically try and bump you up like 10% of what they can really sell it for. That's just what I've observed from other families. I see this all the time. But then the problem is not only they're 10% high, but then they come down 10% on pricing, maybe 5 on a good day. But then 6% commissions go away. Then their closing costs go away. We basically tell people from fair market value, you're probably best taking off about 10% to be safe. So even if your house could sell for 350, take off 35 grand of that. But then the next problem is this. What if this thing takes 3, 4, or 5 months to sell? Is that possible? Can you do it? Again, I'm asking them. This is just the reality. Can you do it? Amanda says no. We're already getting behind in the mortgage. We can't wait 3 or 4 months. That's why we called you guys, because we can't do that. Now that those 2 doors are shut and welded shut, now I can move to a sub 2 offer. Okay. So Amanda, there is another option. We've helped lots of other families with this. Same scenario you're describing. Cash offer didn't work. They'd have to come out of pocket. They couldn't live with a realtor because who the hell knows how long that's going to take or what price they're going to get for that matter. So here's what we did with some other families. Another family, same thing you experienced. They asked me, Jeff, can you help us? I said, let's do this. If I put a little bit of money in your pocket, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever the number is, it's close. Put in down like $5,000. And then I picked up the mortgage payments where you left off. And I could knock this out in like 3 weeks. Would that do the job? Would you be open to something like that? That's how I creak this door open a little bit. You see what we're doing here? It's just I just need them to accept this simple concept. Not performance deeds, not foreclosure, not attorney. None of that shit matters right now. Just this one idea. What if I put a little bit of money down and I pick up where you left off on mortgage payments? Or however you want to phrase it, to the degree that a 5th grader could understand this. That's the key. When you've truly mastered something is when you can explain it to somebody else, a complex thing to somebody else, and they feel like they get it and they feel like a genius. That's when you've truly mastered something. So I want you to have that idea. Could I explain this to an 11-year-old? They don't have to grasp everything, but say, hey, instead of you get an allowance of $5 and you pay $5 for your bicycle every week, right? Yeah, that's what I do. Okay. Well, what if I just made the $5 payments for you and I took the bike? Oh. That's what we're doing here. So once they've accepted that idea, it's like, okay, that is a kind of interesting idea. Then I open the door further and say, okay, let's talk about more what this would look like. Now, here's the last thing, and I'm going to open this up for some questions here. A lot of times, guys, we're worried about just getting bombarded by objections, particularly on sub 2. Well, what happens if you guys don't pay? What are you guys going to use it for? Blah, 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 blah. Y'all heard this one? How many of y'all pitched sub 2 and you just got peppered with questions and objections like every single direction? We've all had this happen, right? Here's one thing to remember. One, when objections start stacking up, this is a bad thing because it's just them trying to get out of the conversation. That's honestly what it is. It's no longer about can you overcome the objection. It's just a freight train. It's not going to stop. Even if you answer everything correctly, at the end, they're just going to say, I just don't feel comfortable. And that's their off-ramp. It's over. So instead, what I do is when I feel like this train is starting to move, I redirect their focus to the problem, not to the objections. Here's what I do. Say, hey, look, Jack, these are good questions you're asking. Don't hear me say otherwise. Every family I've worked with has asked me something similar. We've worked through all the problems. Again, you're right to ask these things. It's good. We will get them done. Before we go down that road, though, let's just look back over here. If I could explain to you how we protected these families and how we made sure that their mortgage was secure, do we agree in principle that this solution would help and solve the problem you're experiencing? You see what I've just done? I've re-emphasized the problem and I set the expectation. I'll answer the questions. Are you going to be on board though? I want to predict the future. So I tell him, this is what my crystal ball says. Do you agree with this? And if he says, no, I'm just kind of curious. Agents do this shit all the time. No, I'm not actually interested. I'm just kind of curious, how you guys operate. Well, I got 20 minutes to kill doing something else. Right? Your time is valuable. There are people who genuinely do need your help, who don't understand sub 2 and need somebody genuinely interested like you. That doesn't mean you can't make money on these things, but you're there and you can structure something to help them get to their next step. Grocery stores make money. I don't hear a lot of us protesting about that. And I'm happier in hell to pay them. So just like you, when you helping people, solving problems, that's why you get compensated. Apple solves a problem by giving me a phone that does wickedly awesome things. I don't tend to complain a lot that they make a lot of money doing that. Good for them. All right. So, in summary, Shad is awesome. You should listen to what he says. And yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. Shad, you got anything else you want to add?
That was fire. I love that. Big takeaway and something that I really picked up on. And I think a lot of us know this, but I really liked how you touched on this was basically planting the seed and making it bite-sized, make it digestible, not this having creative be this huge, overwhelming thing where it's like where we're breaking it all down to them. Just make it as simple as, hey, if I could relieve the pain, if we could take over the payments, if I can give you a little bit of money now, take over the payments, would that be a win? Get that simple yes, and then we can go further into it, but only after, that we identify all the problems and get through all the steps, and then add that. I see so many people jump the gun, and they want to get straight to, oh, I know what the thing that's going to work well for you. You don't have equity, so we can't do cash. So let me just start jamming creative, down your throat. And people just aren't going to go for it because they're not ready for it. I love that. That was a huge takeaway. I really like that. I hope you guys paid attention to that part. But I know we got like 40 people in here. There's probably going to be some questions in here. So
Yeah.
a little bit of Q&A if anybody has anything that they want Jeff to touch upon, or takeaways. Like, what are some of the takeaways you guys had?
I have a question. So Jeff, how do you approach those calls where there isn't a solution or we don't have a solution for their problems? What does that sound like?
So this is it we don't have a solution but they have a problem, or we don't have a solution because they're unreasonable? So let's I'll
Both can
answer
be
them both.
true. Yeah.
So I have sellers occasionally who say they have reverse mortgages on their property, and the reverse mortgage is at a point they can't get out of it. I don't have a solution to cure everything. And maybe that means I got to study a bit more and I got to work harder so I can help more people. That happens so rarely. But usually, unfortunately, what I got to say is, I don't know.
This meeting is being recorded.
Sorry, somebody's recording.
And that is why I am now a proud sponsor of Coca-Cola. So yeah, Alondra, like there are certain folks that, well, and think of it this way too. It also isn't mandatory that you have to be an expert on everything. So if somebody calls me, like they had like a commercial property that was half burned to the ground. It was like a retail. I don't know anything about that. Maybe I know somebody I can refer them to, but I don't have that solution. I can't study everything. So maybe I have somebody I can refer them to. And that might be the best I can do, is warm them up as a lead for somebody else. Or like short sales, for example. I personally am not a fan of doing short sales. Like the paperwork sucks. So I'm like, hey, I think this is the solution. I'd like to introduce you to this group who specializes in helping people. They do an amazing job, right? And I just tee them up. Same thing with like a realtor referral. I make plenty of money off of realtor referrals. If it's $1 million house and it doesn't need a drop of paint to go live, do you think they're going to take my 70% offer? Absolutely not. They just need a kick-ass realtor who knows how to handle luxury real estate. I've made some big checks referring that. It was the right prescription. Now, maybe Alondra, that's like, well, isn't that a solution? Like, yeah, it's a solution. It's just not one I provide because I'm not a realtor. I just do that instead. Now, as far as people who are just like totally unrealistic, like there is no solution because they're just out there in the stratosphere, you know, I'm probably disqualify them as a lead. There's no motivation. There's no problem to be solved. It's like the person who keeps coming into the hospital begging for Vicodin. It's like, dude, you're just a junkie. Get out of here. You don't actually have a problem that mandates this. Get them out of your system. You don't need to. Now that's different, unfortunately. Now here's the one, Alonji, maybe we're also hinting at. Jeff, what about the people who are heading to foreclosure and they will not get out of the way of this oncoming freight train? I'm sorry, guys. There are some people who just refuse to help themselves. No matter how much you holler and scream and you try and pull them off the track, they will just stay there and they will get run over. And it is tragic. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. There's a guy I am dealing with right now. His auction is a month away. I've been speaking for him for a month already. I know he's going to lose his house because he's convinced he has $100 million in crypto. Somebody scammed him and he has lost his family. He's gone through divorce. His kids won't talk to him. He's basically a gambler. And I can't talk this guy down off of losing his house. He's going to lose every dime he has and his family won't talk to him. I'm basically going to watch this guy get run over and I can't do anything about it. I'm going to keep calling him to the last second, but I already know what's going to happen and I can't convince him.
Okay. Yeah. I guess sometimes it's just hard to reconcile with the fact that, you get these people to open up, they tell you their life story, all the pain that's going on, and then at the end, you're not able to provide like a solution or even point them in the right direction. So that makes sense.
Give me an
though.
example of what you've experienced.
So there's a woman in New York. She has this rental property. It's rented out. 2 of the units rented out. There's an illegal unit, and there's a guy in there with acute hiccups. He won't move out of the property. She's been trying to get him out for 2 years, and she's already spent probably 20-30,000 on another eviction for another property.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to paying for the eviction on another property, she has this guy in this place in an illegal unit that's making it impossible for her to sell on the open market to a retail buyer because no FHA, VA, they're not going to buy that type of house with the guy who won't get out. So she's essentially
Is the illegal,
bleeding.
when you say the illegal unit, like it's an illegal tenant or it wasn't permitted when it was built?
The unit wasn't permitted by the city, so
Okay.
it's not supposed to be there.
Okay.
So the guy's living there, and so she's bleeding money every month. So not only did she have the eviction in another property, the taxes keep increasing, the water bill keeps increasing. And then in her own house, she has multiple units. That tenant destroyed the place, trashed it. She kicked him out, and she's scared to
So-
re-rent it.
So here's the thing. This is what you're not going to like. There actually is a solution for this. There is always a price to everything. The solution may be resulting that she cannot be restored whole. That those $30,000 that she spent to try and get this out are just gone. There is a number at some point that somebody will buy it. It may not result in her getting fully restored from all that money she spent. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, then on the other side, though, cash doesn't work because once she sells a property, there's a debt that has to be satisfied. So once that debt's satisfied, she's also going to get hit 30% on capital gains. And what she's really looking to accomplish is to finish paying off a new build she has in the Dominican Republic, which is going to cost her 170. So if she sells
here-
for at the offer we're giving her, she's not able to accomplish.
And here's the thing. This property, I had this conversation with a woman going through a divorce. It's the same concept. She was relying on this house to save her. This property you're talking about, Alondra, cannot save that seller. It can't do it. Just because I want $500,000 for my house, but it's only worth $250. Well, I got to get $500,000 out of this house, or I can't get to where I want to go. It's like, Jeff, this house can't save you. You're going to have to save yourself. It can be a springboard. You can at least stop bleeding money on it, but this isn't going to save the day. And that may be the tough conversation that she's going to have to realize, that you'll have to ask her, what if this house simply doesn't have enough value in it that it can do all of these things? What else could you do? That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Do you have a price that you would buy it?
Well, we're at MAO's 500,000. Sellers
does she want?
asking 730.
Okay. You do have a solution. You do have a solution. Like, you can do it. You can solve the problem, but look, lady, I'm sorry. This property is not going to cure cancer. It can't. But it will stop these other things. So it's a question of, do you want to get the money, a fair number for it now, and solve certain problems? Or do you want to keep enduring this hellscape and none of the problems are solved? And you have to ask it in a question. You can't do it in parent voice. Like, that's a lot of times what we do. I was guilty of this, is I wanted to tell them what the consequences were instead of asking them so they came to the realization. Doesn't work on everybody. But after a while of kind of hearing this, what if nobody shows up at that number? What if this keeps going? What if that tenant who's not leaving, what if he starts to get really crazy? And this is just the beginning.
Okay. I guess I'm always under the assumption that it's supposed to be like a win-win. So that would be like, I'll liken it to your doctor analogy. Someone coming in with stage 4 cancer. They waited a long time, it went undetected. They come in, you say, hey, you have stage 4 cancer. You have 6 months to live as is. But if you take these pills, it won't cure the cancer, but it'll extend your lifespan an additional 2 months. So instead of 6, 8 months.
Or think of it in a different way. Think of it as like, look, you can either let the cancer in your arm grow and it can potentially get worse and worse and worse and worse, or we can amputate. And it means you can't write with that hand anymore, but you do survive and live to fight another day. Which do you want? Some people are like, I'll take my chances. Maybe the cancer will go away in my arm on its own. Okay. So yes, we want solutions that solve everything. But if the house doesn't have the value, you can't do everything. But good question, Alondra. Good brain teaser.
All right, cool.
Ivy,
Thanks,
what's
Jeff.
up?
I have a question on the most pre-foreclosure sellers. They are in denial. Is it too soon to
Shocking.
ask if you tell them they are in foreclosure list after you introduce yourself and what have they done to solve the problem? Answers that I get are mostly, oh, we took care of it. Oh, how did that work for you? And they can answer that part. So is it too soon to qualify them if they want to be helped?
So typically with foreclosure leads, what I've experienced is there's two grades of them. Either the people who already sense that they're about to get behind and they take action immediately, or the people who wait till the last second. There is no in between. They're either a month out and they're like, oh shit, this thing's really coming. I got to get off the train. Or they say at the beginning, oh my God, I just started to think about missing a payment. I got to do something. It's one of the, it's never the person who says, yeah, I got 2 months until this thing sells. Yep, maybe I should take care of this now before this gets worse. That person doesn't exist, which is really annoying. So when you call them Ivy, you know, one, I kind of think about that. And then two, when they say, oh, we got it taken care of, say, oh, thank God. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm going to take you off the list. What did you guys end up doing? Oh, we went with a loan mod. Oh, cool, loan mod. Okay, cool. Well, hey, well, I got you on the phone. I actually work with some families who they went through a loan mod and it totally blew up in their face. I don't want that to have happen to you. Could I just like give you some free counseling for like 4 minutes? And then start to ask them like, what were you told about the loan mod process? What were you told is going to be qualified? Okay. So the letter of hardship, is that something you can produce? Oh, you can't. Okay. So if the letter of hardship doesn't come across, did they say what they're going to do in response to that? No? Okay. Well, if there's no letter of hardship, that means they're going to deny it. And with this other family I worked with, they didn't get that notice until like a week out. And then by that time, it was too late. What if that happens here? So that's the way I would pivot, is to get the person out of the mindset that you're chasing them now. Oh, you got it taken care of. Okay, cool. Hey, let me take you off the list here. But while I got you on the phone,
So it's not too forward to tell them they're in the foreclosure list that I got from the county.
no, because you're the 6,000th person to have told them that.
Okay, copy.
Now,
Thank you.
what I sometimes will do, I've experimented with this. You can do the kick in the door approach, which is, hey, the reason I'm calling, I see this house is on a foreclosure list, and I really want to take the time and see if anybody's talked to you through your options. We help families get through it. Or there's the other route, which is the generic one, especially if you're calling multiple lists. And you say, hey, the reason I'm giving you a call, we're actually buying properties in this particular neighborhood. Thought you might be interested in selling. And they talk, and they won't admit it. So what I'll sometimes do when I know it's a foreclosure, I'll say, hey, I just pulled this up on Zillow, and I'm not sure, maybe this is a typo or something. It says auction here. Do you know what that means? Now it's not me accusing them, it's Zillow. I've had one instance where the lady was like, oh my God, that thing's still up. I've been fighting the IRS about this for like the past 2 years. It's totally bogus. No, good. I didn't offend you. She ended up being a buyer. So that was nice. Does that help, Ivy?
Yes, very much. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Mr. Jose Blanco, how's it going?
Hey, doing great. Yes. Actually, I wanted to ask about a lead I had. That he had they bought a land, okay, a lot to build. So they asked for a construction loan, which is short time, and that construction loan is about to end in April. So they want to sell, but the price is too high, and they can't. They can't do subject to because the term is too short. So when you say like when Alandro said that there's sometimes that we can't provide a solution for them, this is one of the cases. So I was just like, what can we do with a lead like this? How can we lower his expectations to a price that actually solves his situation? He said like, I don't mind refinancing. If I don't sell it, I refinance it and I follow. So I was like, what can we do on these cases? Like, how do we create the gap?
Right. So guys, this is unfortunately one of these instances, especially when we say like, Jeff, their price is too high. How do I deal with it? Well, this is why when you're cold calling, you contract 1 in 50 and not 1 in 1. This is why with inbound, it's 1 out of 10 to 15 and not 1 to 1. There are some people who they just have unrealistic expectations no matter what you tell them. There's this one guy I'm dealing with, Lake Jackson. He is hell-bent that he can get 200,000 for his house. He's like, okay, I got offers all over the place. I got offers up to my eyeballs. I was like, and how many of them are written? He goes, well, none of them, but they tell me they'll do it. I had one guy tell me 205. And how many of those are written? Well, Jeff, none of them, but I'm sure any day now. It's like, Larry, we're going on 3 months of this crap. You sure about this? And there is nothing I can do, Jose, to change that guy's mind. So again, the way to talk with them is say, look, here's what I can do. Here's what I can't do. I can't pay as much as you're asking for. If I could pay you $10 million and buy this lot, I would do it. I'd be bankrupt. They can't do it. So look, you can either do option A, be delighted to work with you. This is what I could pay in cash. Or you do need to refinance this thing. Those are your choices. Which one do you want to choose? Do you want to let the cancer grow or do you want to do the amputation? It's your choice. And if they just want to stay with the way things are, there is no mind trick to this. Yes, I have a lightsaber behind me. It doesn't actually cut anything. I have no force powers. It's not entirely true. I have some. But don't expect, like, sometimes it's constant follow-up sometimes until that day arrives where that person has come to the conclusion on their own. It's not something you can tell them. They have to arrive at that conclusion on their own. And be consistent. That's how I've gotten deals that have come back to me. So when Open Door blew up one of their deals, they called me and they said, Jeff, you're the only one who's been consistent with us and realistic. That's why we called you and not the other two guys. Everybody else was just telling us what we wanted to hear. You kept saying this is something you could absolutely execute. You told us you couldn't do any better. You're the only one we rely on now because we don't think you're going to yank us around later. Best assignment deal I've gotten.
Hey, Jeff, here's one. Do you work for sale by owners at all, or you leave them alone? Yeah.
Typically, I do not chase after FSBOs unless it's a highly distressed property. I've executed one FSBO deal. I assigned it, but it was after Hurricane Harvey in Houston. So the only thing they had was a bandit sign. I was lucky enough that it was an inherited house and the house was destroyed. I mean, it's kind of a funny way of saying lucky. But the point is, it was a motivated family who was not expecting much. They just wanted to liquidate it.
Basically leave them alone.
So,
yeah.
but if I'm calling,
God. Sorry, I interrupted. Oh, yeah, you're basically leaving them alone then, really.
99% of the time I'm leaving. I do not chase FSBOs at all.
Yeah.
But the times that I did chase FSBOs, that house had to be highly distressed in the photos. Anybody else? Questions or just any thoughts? Like, hey, Jeff, I'm working through this idea you just discussed. I want to implement this. How would I do it? Jeff, what's your favorite dad joke? Like, whatever. Michael, here we go.
Sorry, yeah.
What's up?
Favorite dad joke? Yeah. So what is your favorite dad joke since you actually brought it up?
Well, now I forgot about it. You put me on the spot. I should have like a sticky note or something. I'm not a dad, but I find them hilarious anyway.
I got my best friend. He's actually a zip line tour leader guy, and it's whenever you tour with him, it's like an hour and a half of nothing but dad jokes. It's like the greatest thing ever. And every time I go on, I'm the only one who laughs. Maybe like one other dad. Yeah, I should probably hit him up. No, I just wanted to say I do pre-foreclosures. I door knock, right? I door knock more than I cold call them. But the identify, quantify, and amplify is like huge because it's a really good framework. It's a really good takeaway. Because I notice whenever I'm in front of a homeowner, I use the Sandler submarine, right? So for anybody else who's calling, it's like I always, it's like, while I'm mid conversation, even though I'm trying to be present, in my head, I'm like, okay, where am I in the submarine? Report and bonding, got it. I already did the upfront contract. Okay, we're obviously telling me about the problems. We're in pain. So in my head, like I can kind of like multitask in the sense where I can keep track of where I'm going. But I always have trouble with conversions, and then ends up like I can identify the pain, but I am working on now. Now I'm looking at this little framework, quantifying and amplifying it. I always have a problem with the amplification of their problems. Because I talk to a lot of homeowners where I'm like, well, they're like a month out, and then they're like 3 weeks out, and then they're like 2 weeks out from the auction. And I just like everything is there, but I just can't sometimes get it into that, like, hey, like, we got to act now. I don't know how other way to tell you, but this is good little framework of the IQA. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But that was like, basically, I just want to say my takeaway on that. And then I don't use the F word when I'm talking to pre-foreclosures. I just say like, oh, hey, I noticed that there's an issue with the bank.
Yeah.
Just stopping by to see if, you need any help, or if you even know what your options are at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the comments. Okay. So guys, I'd like to do something kind of special for you guys. So one of the things, again, that I mentioned before was the takeaways that I wanted you guys to have in particular. So just for you 35 folks here, the things we talked about, the problem questions and the advances. Okay. So this is a worksheet that I give to my students. I'm going to share it with you guys in the chat. Take this sheet and work it. It is your unofficial homework assignment from me. Call it the questions that don't suck worksheet. And it has all those little keyword, those little buzzwords at the top. Don't share this with anybody else, please. It's just my gift to you guys. My thanks to you all for hosting me. I'm honored that you all would invite me, genuinely. It's very humbling. So this is a worksheet that I work on to help me frame what these questions should sound like. And so I would challenge you guys, take that sheet, start writing it down, start implementing those keywords, and then post in your REI Blueprint group, start tagging each other and say, I just dropped this question and it worked. I just dropped this question, it didn't work. Like, start cataloging what is working and the way you phrase it. I guarantee you, you guys will be blown away if you're on the call when you get a motivated seller and you drop one of these questions on them. But then more than that, what this worksheet shows you is we're not done with one question. I'm going to drop like 3 or 4 of them in a row. And I would love to hear the stories of how that happens when you guys start executing this.
That's amazing. Thank you, Jeff.
You're
Appreciate
welcome. Yeah.
it. I'm going to give a few minutes for everybody to download that. Did everybody grab it from the chat here? Everybody that wants it there? Mike, I think you're driving. If anybody's driving, we can get it to you guys later.
Jeff, are you still working with lands?
So I have temporarily put land on ice,
Okay.
and I'll probably chase after it again in Q3. The reason for that was when the interest rates started increasing, what also happened is that the government bond rates started increasing. So when you have a development site and we're going to put in like 100 houses, a lot of that infrastructure is financed by government bond money. So when those rates went through the roof, the pro forma started to get screwed up. So a lot of developments got canceled. And then what also happened is a lot of the big players, like the national house builders, the D.R. Hortons, the Lennars, the Ash, all those guys, what they do is they say, look, all this land got stupid expensive. All these costs got out of control, but we still got to be building houses. What do we do? Well, they buy land 10 years in advance for a rainy day. So what did they do? They just moved on to the dirt they already had. or they were buying finished lots from local developers that they could get for relatively inexpensive costs. So they shifted a lot of things. When the rates come back, they'll probably get better. In Q3, I am going to chase that again and revitalize it. Right now, I'm very focused on building my own single family wholesale and rehab business. Right now, so in Q3, Q4, we did more wholesales of everything. Now in this year, we're going to do more rehabs, and then the sub twos I contract, we're going to keep those as much as we can or wrap them. That's our plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Good dad joke.
Hey,
Graham.
on that
Write
note,
down.
Jeff, sorry, but the case I explained, it was a expired listing, and when you say that you put land on ice, these people happen the same, that like they buy the land for building, but then the interest rate got so high that they couldn't build. So they hired a realtor, and the property stayed on the market for like 100 days and didn't sell. So they fired the realtor and blame it on the realtor, but it's actually the price. So, yeah.
An unreasonable
how-
seller.
when
Say
they're
it
gonna
isn't
realize.
so. Say it isn't so.
That's a first. First ever.
I mean, that's you ask the questions of like, what offers did you get? Who were the offers from? Was it from a reputable builder, or was it from like 20-year-old Sam down the street who doesn't have a dime to his name? Like, who was it? Oh yeah, the reputable builders. Well, if the reputable builders aren't coming any higher, what does that tell you? Hey man, if you have 3 reputable builders who have provided offers and they gave you the best thing they can, what if that is what the market will bear here? What if that's the best the market has to offer? Well, we'll just hold on to it. Okay, go for it. That's what you'll have to do. Move on.
The market's boss. The market dictates the price.
Yup.
I think we got one more question. Bala. We'll wrap up with you, buddy. Bala, can you hear? You're muted.
Yes. Jeff, thank you very much for your heart out. Truly appreciate that. Jeff, if somebody getting brand new started for 2024, first quarter, which would you recommend? Expired listings or free and clear?
I'm sorry, Bala. There's a bit of a reverb here. Can you say that again?
Expired listings versus free and clear. Which one would be the low-hanging fruit in between these two lists in Los Angeles market? You think?
So, right. So, by nature, a free and clear list doesn't indicate any kind of motivation.
Mhm.
Whether I bought my house in cash or I've lived in it for 30 years, just because I own it outright without a debt doesn't indicate any distress or motivation. It's a crapshoot. So I actually wouldn't target that at all. An expired listing at least indicates that they had a serious desire to sell.
Just see. All right. Thank you.
What I think is still working, although it's gotten a little bit saturated, the low equity on market. And if you can figure out beforehand what the interest rate is of the mortgage, that's a good way to niche that down and target it better, because they do have a problem that the market can't really solve right now.
I see. Thank you. Any other motivation that you can tap into in addition to expired listing?
So if the most motivated list, like if you needed to get a deal immediately, the general recommendation is go after the foreclosure list and door knock it. Call it and door knock it. Right? It's probably the best thing to do. The other ways that you target this is by what's called list stacking. So think about it this way. If a house is vacant, is that seller highly motivated to sell? Maybe, not necessarily. If the house is vacant and it's inherited, is that person motivated to sell? Not a bad chance. If the house is vacant, inherited, and on a pre-foreclosure list, how extreme do you think that motivation is? That's the concept of list stacking. So some people are able to do that. That's when you're kind of getting more sophisticated. So generally, but I would just say, for you, Bala, I also very much believe in the idea of when you get started. The goal when you get started in real estate is not to spend as much money as you can on systems and lists and skip tracing and all this other crap. The goal is to get your first deal and get some money in the door. So that's why I believe the on-market low equity list is a good one. And if somebody can get you an expired list and somehow get free phone numbers from it or get inexpensive skip tracing, maybe that's a good one to chase after, because at least you have the photos. And again, they want to sell. You just don't know why or what stopped them before. Okay. Shad, you got anything else?
If you have time for one more, I know Matthias is waiting.
Oh, yeah, I got time. Like I love talking sales and stuff, everybody. Like I got time.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for everything. I was
welcome.
calling because I'm looking for a buyer in California. Do you work out here?
Hell
in Southern
no.
California.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I do. I got buyers. I'm in SoCal.
There we go. Michael's got you.
All
Yeah,
right,
if
for
it's
sure.
if it's a fix and flip or buy and hold, reach out to me, my man. We'll take a look.
Nice.
Okay.
So that's
sure.
a good point. So what kind of buyer are you looking for?
Well, it's pretty expensive. The property, it's like in the millions.
Well, is it going to be worth like $50 billion when it fixed up, or does it need an owner occupant? Like, what is the buyer profile?
Well, he's going through foreclosure right now.
No, the buyer profile, not the seller profile.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm new, so I really don't understand that question.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah, just reach out to me, man. We'll take a look at it together, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. And so Michael's a good guy to reach out to. But basically, think about this. If I'm putting a property under contract and this thing is like, it's wrecked, like it's a pile of crap, it's probably not an owner occupant who's going to want to buy that. It's probably a fix and flipper. That's probably the buyer that I'm really looking for, right? On the other hand, let's pretend the house is worth $2 million. It's immaculate. You walk in, you're just like, damn, this thing is beautiful. The fix and flipper is not the buyer you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who's got money who wants to bring his family into that home, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. When you're looking at this property in your brain, who do you think is realistically the buyer who's going to want this? Is it a flipper? Is it a landlord? Or is it somebody who's going to want to live there?
Okay.
Or is it somebody who's going to tear it down and build something new?
Well, the property's not that bad. It probably just needs like cosmetic things.
And
I
how
haven't ran
much
any
is the
comps,
ARV?
really. Well, I have been looking at the properties that have been sold around there, but there's nothing that I could really comp it with because it's like different than all the other houses.
But you said this thing's crazy expensive.
Yeah. Well, that's what he put his price, it's like 4.5 million, but I mean, it might be
Okay.
worth that.
So I link up with Michael and be okay with the idea that, hey, 4.5 million, it just needs a paint job. Flipper's not the right person for that. He might just need a realtor who specializes in high-end luxury real estate who doesn't suck at his job.
Okay.
If you can link that person up, you probably get a $15,000 check for your trouble.
Okay.
So just again, think about like, what is the solution that this seller really needs? Do they need a fix and flipper who's going to buy this thing at 70 cents on the dollar? Doesn't sound like it. Unless they have an urgency. But if they got time to kill, like, man, it sounds like what you really need is a professional luxury realtor who really understands how to sell these things. If I could introduce you to the best one in Southern Cal, can I make that introduction for you? That's how valuable a connector is on high-end stuff like that. Connectors, here's the key. I learned this from Samsung. What he told me was, if you want to be a connector, the best time to do a connector is when you're connecting, again, high-value performers. Somebody's got a $4.5 million house. I got a realtor who performs this job. That's valuable because I'm going to get a $15,000 commission check from that alone. What's not as valuable is when I get a $100,000 house and I'm connecting them with a $100,000 realtor and I get a check for like $500.
Yeah.
The value of connectors is at this higher end, solving very complex, high valued problems. Okay. So link up with Michael Barcena because he wants to see if he can help you.
Okay.
And just keep that in mind that may be the right solution for this guy.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jeff. I'll reach out, Mike.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Jeff, thank you so much for hopping on here and dropping so many knowledge bombs. We really appreciate you as always, man. This is phenomenal.
Oh, dude, my pleasure. I get to listen to myself talk for an hour. Like, when can I do this again?
Anytime, bro. Anytime. Did you guys get some value tonight? Should we have Jeff back on? Who's gonna take that sheet and actually use some of those questions and apply some of the things that were taught tonight?
Yeah, me. I'd certainly love you to come back, Jeff. It's gold every time you speak, helping us all in our real estate business. And I say thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Graham. Good
Yeah,
seeing you.
thanks, Jeff. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Cody. Oh, it's Cody. Oh, hey, man. Yeah,
Hey.
you and TJ are both here. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff,
Hey, man.
thank you again for coming. You always blow my mind. It's
Oh,
glad to, guys, if you get a moment, check out his course. He really can give you some, if you like what you heard today, check him out some more. His class is amazing. Just want to let y'all know that.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I've taken it too. It's phenomenal. Loved it.
So
On that note, how can people learn more and how can they follow you? How can they learn more about the course for the people that are interested?
yeah,
How can they-
yeah. Thanks for that. So, guys, there's a couple things. Here's my Instagram. Here's my YouTube channel. And so what Shad is talking about, TJ and Cody, all three of them experienced this. So what I have done recently, last year, I started beta testing this and I was teaching some guys in Houston Sub 2 how to do sales negotiating because this was really freaking hard to learn. But I feel like I actually do have a talent and a genuine love for coaching and teaching. And I think I'm pretty good at it. So I have created a sales training course, try to make it super affordable. So TJ, Cody are plugged into it. Shad's gone through it. And really what it boils down to is kind of like that worksheet shows you, it's learning how to ask good questions, not just to hand you a script. Because if I give you a handful of medical instruments and say, have at it, you're gonna be like, dude, I don't know what to do with these things. So I'm going to teach you how to ask the right questions, the concern, the chat, all those things. And then to think through the strategy. How do I get this person to the finish line? How do I push this thing forward? How do I have this conversation? Because here's the problem. If you're relying on the script, you miss so many gold nuggets of what the seller is telling you. Let me give you an example. I don't know, TJ, I don't know if you were on this one. Maybe Cody was on it. So a couple days ago on Monday, we had a call calibration with one of my students there. And we're all talking together. There's like 20 people. And we're listening to this call. And Mo is talking to this guy, and the guy replies, yeah, I'm the caretaker for this house. She needs to sell. She just realized she is real estate rich and cash poor. So we're hoping to get this thing sold so she can get moved into the retirement community. And I said, pause everything right here. What the hell was that? And they said, oh, yeah. He said real estate rich, cash poor. Yeah. And they're all typing in the chat. It's like, she's broke. I was like, yeah, she's broke. She doesn't have any money. That's obviously why we're doing this. But hone in on something else. Real estate rich, cash poor. Real estate rich, cash poor. Real estate rich. Is that singular or plural? She has a caretaker. We're so hell-bent on this one house, we may have missed something. What if she owns multiple properties? So guys, by having you learn what the questions are and the strategy, now you can focus more on those little things and pick up those nuggets. So Mo will get back in touch with them and find out. But yeah, if you have questions, please reach out to me. Check out the YouTube channel. There's a couple of free modules there for you. Would love to have you as part of the group. And I told TJ and Cody, like, they can say whatever they want. If they say Jeff's course is great, they'll say it. If they think my course is dog shit, they can say that too. But apparently they've chosen the nicer version.
I've been through it. It's definitely fire. Absolutely. I can vouch for it.
100%.
And
Thanks.
well, I mean, they're getting I mean, they're seeing it here. So absolutely. Jeff, thanks again, brother. Appreciate you coming on. We'll schedule another one, you know, whenever you have time. I know you're a super busy guy and you're doing a lot of deals, but it's always amazing having you on. Really appreciate you taking time out.
Oh, again, thanks for having me. Like, I'm happy to come back once a month or once a quarter or whatever. Whenever you guys need me, just give me a shout. But again, thank you all. Humbled that you would host me. Take care, everybody.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great weekend. You guys- Thanks, guys.